This is a story we're following. The Intercape Bus service in the Eastern Cape has hailed a court order that compels government to maintain law and order in the long-distance bus sector. So last week, the High Court in Makhanda ordered government to provide security for Intercape buses. The bus company went to court after a series of attacks on its buses, drivers and passengers. To discuss, we're joined by Intercape CEO Johann Ferreira. Mr. Ferreira, thank you for being with us. Firstly, set the scene. What has been happening regarding your buses for some time now?
Well, this is a problem that stems from 2015 all the way through to the present moment. Since 2015 to 2019, the coaches, specifically in the Eastern Cape, were targeted by taxi operators in terms of threats and violence, preventing passengers from entering coaches and disembarking coaches at the stops in the Eastern Cape. They've also questioned the validity of our permits and made it very, very difficult. Since 2019, when they saw they couldn't stop the operations through these intimidation acts and also questioning the permits with the local authorities, they then escalated the violence to stoning. And also, as you now know, shootings. This has now taken the life of one of our drivers, Makhanda, and that was a very unfortunate situation where he passed away after he was brutally gunned down in Cape Town Airport Industrial, right outside of our depot in Cape Town. And we have written extensively to the state president, forewarned him of the coming terror attacks and that it's escalating. We have also forewarned the Minister of Transport and the Minister of Police. We've written numerous letters to their officers and informed them about the progress made by the taxis and the inroads made by the taxi associations, preventing operations in the Eastern Cape in certain, as they call it, no-go zones. But it fell on deaf ears. So eventually, I had no choice then to take the Minister of Transport and the Minister of Police, national ministers, to court. And the court has now found in Intercape's favour, and they have ruled that indeed the MEC of Transport in the Eastern Cape acted unlawfully when they instructed Intercape not to stop in certain towns, as she has agreed at a meeting with the taxis in Idutsha that Intercape will not stop in these areas. She then informed me that I had to come and negotiate with the taxis, where I said, I'm not going to do that. And this is now the court order that the Minister of Transport on a national basis and also on a provincial basis, together with the South African Police Force, has to put an action plan together that will safeguard the safe passage of the traveling public in the Eastern Cape, and as well as the drivers driving the coaches. That's basically, in a nutshell, what it boils down to.
So when will you, are you going to engage with government around this plan? When will those engagements start? When do you think things could change and get safer for your drivers and passengers?
Well, my legal team has already written to the Minister of Transport and said we are ready to engage. We are ready to do whatever it takes to work with him on an action plan. But the clock is ticking, and the clock started ticking Friday morning since the judgment has been handed down. So we have not received any word from the Minister of Police or the Minister of Transport or the MEC of the Eastern Cape in terms of the MEC of Transport. So we'll see. We are now waiting, and I just hope that in the end of the day, these ministers will not be held in contempt of court if they don't act. Yeah. That it's a serious allegation, and again I say that as far as Fikile and Balula is concerned, the court has found that these ministers has not acted in the interest of their constitutional duties and also their statutory duties. And that's a serious issue, a very serious issue.
Yeah,
and I think this is something that the state president should take notice of, that he sits with weak cabinet ministers. And this is why we have so many issues in South Africa, because of poor leadership, or leadership that it makes the wrong decisions or no decisions, or ineffective
well,
decisions.
The ramifications are huge, because a whole lot of transport service providers could argue that their drivers and passengers are not being kept safe. So you may have started something. We will follow. I'm interested how you argued around the MEC's involvement. So you said that she said you had to negotiate with the taxi industry, you couldn't stop at certain stops. And I guess the context here is that we are in a country where driving in a taxi isn't always safe, so that's a concern as well. And we want to give commuters as many options as possible. So when the prices go up, they can start choosing between buses or taxis or trains. But we have a dearth of options, and there's competition here as well. Should the MEC have gotten involved? Just tell us more about what the judge said.
You see, the situation is like this, where I have engaged with the taxi associations to understand what is it that they want. Why are they attacking the coaches? And they clearly stated to me that they want to dictate to Intercape, and not only to Intercape, but to the industry, what the fares should be that the industry should charge, or the coaches should charge. How many coaches we allow to operate on a specific route or out of a specific province? What is the timetable that we can follow? And I mean, these demands is basically handing over the keys of your business to another industry. So fear is driving this process, where the other coach operators, my competitors, so to speak, has opted not to go to the police, but has opted to go and negotiate with the taxis. And, you know, whether they paid bribe money, or whether they paid protection money, or whether they changed their operations, I'm not privy to that. But I have decided to go to the police, and I've decided to take the matter to court, because this is a free country, and we should be able to practice our business according to the country's constitution and laws. And as long as you're a law-abiding citizen of this country and a law-abiding company of this country, you should be able to do your business and go about your life. So in effect, what happened in this instance is that at Koffenwaber, there was a 24-hour blockage of the road by the taxi operators, where they pulled trucks across the road, took the keys out, and then blocked essentially the corridor between Cape Town and Durban, to such an extent that school children went home, and businesses closed. And this has then forced the Minister of Transport in the Eastern Cape to go and sit with the taxi operators and hear their demands. Now, I don't know what happened there, but all I can tell you that the feedback that I got was that the MEC of Transport called me, I was overseas at the time, demanded that I should come back to South Africa, and demanded that I should sit with the taxis and negotiate, and further demanded that we should stop operating in 5 major towns in the Eastern Cape.
Mr. Ferreira, we have to leave it there. I'm sorry, we've run out of time, but we will certainly follow what happens, and if things get safer following that court judgment. And thank you for the explanation. That was the CEO of Intercape, Johann Ferreira.